What if evil could appear without limits? What if an entire population fell under the control of dark spirits? This isn't a made-up tale. It truly happened. In a forgotten area past the Sea of Galilee, people lived in constant suffering. They couldn't rest at night. Peace was nowhere to be found. Some screamed in graveyards, while others hurt themselves. That land was cursed, like hell come alive. The demons didn't stay hidden. They made themselves known. Then he came. He brought no weapons, no soldiers, just his voice, and that alone shook the depths of hell. What followed would leave a mark on history. This is the moment when Jesus met a legion of demons. Though the Gospels tell only part of the event, today you'll see that the meeting was more powerful than we ever imagined. Who were these evil spirits? Why were they terrified? And why did Jesus look at this possessed man and see something worth saving when everyone else saw only a monster? This is not just a tale, it's something deeper. Before Jesus stepped into that land, evil already ruled it. There wasn't just one man tormented. A whole town was trapped under the weight of spiritual darkness. The valley of Gadara wasn't dark because the sun didn't shine, but because an invisible force covered it like a thick fog. People lived in dread. Homes were shut tight before nightfall. No one dared step outside after dark. Dogs barked wildly for no reason. Lamps flickered. Children were restless at night. They dreamed of figures with empty stares. The youngest spoke to invisible friends who said strange things. Women heard voices while they cooked. Voices whispering horrible thoughts. A father disappeared after destroying everything in his house, shouting, "This isn't me!" They found his body in the river, his face frozen in horror. Some tried to take their lives. A few didn't survive. All of it was real, but nobody talked about it. Everyone felt that something had taken control of that place. And among them, there was him, the man in the tombs. He had once been a dad, a brother, someone's child, but now he was like a wild creature roaming naked, stained in blood and dirt. His eyes were wide and empty, always open, as if he had forgotten how to close them. People said he spoke with many voices at once. Sometimes they came out in languages no one could understand. They had tried to stop him, soldiers, townspeople, even his own relatives. But every time they chained him, he snapped the bonds apart. His skin was marked with old scars and fresh cuts. When he let out a cry, it wasn't just one voice. It sounded like many voices coming from one mouth. They screamed even before anyone got close because they sensed someone stronger was near. But while that was happening, the village was falling apart. Businesses shut down. There was no trade. No one dared to enter or leave the town of Gadara. Illness spread. People got fevers without explanation. Pregnancies ended suddenly. People died for no reason. Simple arguments in homes turned into violent outbursts. Faith was abandoned. The temple stood silent. The sacred texts gathered dust. One elderly priest, one of the last still faithful, whispered, "This land is cursed, and only God's chosen one can lift the curse." Others mocked him, but he held firm. When he arrives, the darkness will be powerless. Men claimed to see strange shapes moving across the fields. Cattle were found lifeless, their eyes staring, mouths twisted in fear. From deep in the hills came the sound of twisted laughter, unnatural and cruel. It was the laughter of the possessed. Wildlife ran away. Birds stopped singing. Men's sleep turned into torment. Homes felt cold even when the sun was high. Everything was part of a system, a hidden but fierce control. A kingdom of shadows that ruled without a king, without soldiers. Because it had already taken hold of people's thoughts, it shaped their feelings. It pushed them to act in ways they didn't understand. And the most frightening thing, no one fought back. Everyone just learned to live with it. But up in heaven, something was being prepared. The battle plan had already been written. That place, though it seemed lost, had not been forgotten by Jesus. He crossed the sea, even though a fierce storm rose up. The storm wasn't random. It had been stirred up by the enemy to stop him. The waves hit hard. The wind roared like a beast in pain. The disciples thought death was near, but Jesus was sleeping. In the middle of chaos, the Prince of Peace rested, because neither the sea, nor the storm, nor any demon could command him. When he finally got up, he didn't yell, he didn't show fear, he just said a few words. Quiet, be still, say nothing. And the sea went silent. It wasn't luck, it wasn't chance. That storm wasn't just weather. It was the enemy's last desperate move to block what was about to happen. But nothing can stop Jesus. The moment he reached the shore, everything changed. The clouds parted. The air grew still. It felt like the invisible world had gone quiet. The disciples didn't realize it yet, but they had entered a place ruled by darkness. Inside the cliffs, the tormented man began to shake. The voices inside him cried out. They twisted and panicked. They started to shout, "He's coming! He's here! It's not time yet!" The man dropped to the ground, yelling in rage. His body jerked wildly. His mouth spat out curses. Without warning, he rushed toward Jesus. But it wasn't an attack. It was something he couldn't stop. Because when the Son of God shows up, even demons bow down. No one tried to stop the man, not the disciples, not any guards. They understood Jesus didn't need anyone to protect him. The possessed man reached him, collapsed at his feet, and shouted with a voice that was really many voices, "What do you want with us, Jesus, Son of the Most High? Please don't torture us." Jesus looked at the man, not with anger or fear, but with mercy. While others only saw a wild creature, Jesus saw someone trapped and hurting. "What's your name?" Jesus asked gently. The answer came, layered with echoing voices. "Legion, for we are many." And it was true. In Roman terms, a legion meant 4,000 to 6,000 soldiers. That's how many spirits controlled the man. That's how deep his suffering went. Yet Jesus didn't back away. He wasn't concerned about how many demons there were. He cared only about the mission from his Father. And the Father's will was not to retreat, but to rescue. The man, under the grip of darkness, twisted in pain. The disciples were stunned. No one had ever seen anything like it. But Jesus remained steady. The power within him was far stronger than the power that had taken over the man. And the demons knew it. They pleaded with him, "Please, don't make us leave this region. Send us into the pigs instead." Why did they ask that? Because they knew Jesus had full authority to send them into the abyss, the place of endless suffering. Even in their rebellion, the demons still acknowledged who held true power. And there was Jesus, standing firm on a cursed land, facing a hidden army, alone yet untouchable. The Son of Man had come. Not even a multitude of demons could stand in his way. In mere moments, Jesus would prove that thousands of dark spirits were no match for his authority. People began to gather. No one made a sound. No one could explain it. But deep down, everyone felt they were witnessing something holy. Jesus, once called the teacher from Galilee, now stood as more than that. He appeared as a king, a liberator, the very picture of Isaiah 61, which declared, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has sent me to set captives free." And on that very day, in that defiled place, those words came true. Though invisible to the eye, chains were breaking. The man thrashed, overcome by the battle within. The voices inside him shouted as one. Some cried, some cursed, some pleaded. The crowd, frozen with shock, couldn't turn away. Jesus didn't need to yell. He calmly commanded, "Leave this man, evil spirit." And then it was like lightning struck. The man dropped to the earth, The ground trembled around him. The legion inside howled, shrieking from deep within the soul they had taken over. "Don't banish us. Send us into the pigs," they begged. Jesus paused, not because he needed time, but because true power doesn't rush. He had nothing to prove. Then, in that still moment, the man's body bent backward, as though something was being violently forced out. Thousands of demons left him and entered a nearby herd of pigs. The animals went wild. They squealed and ran in a frenzy, crashing into each other. Without warning, they all rushed into the water. The sea swallowed them whole. Everyone saw it happen. The same sea that once quieted at Jesus' voice now consumed the unclean spirits hidden inside those animals. The entire land became still. Lying on the ground, the man looked up at Jesus, his face wet with tears. He had returned to himself. For the first time in years he was free. No more inner voices, no anger, no chaos, just stillness and clarity. The disciples stood speechless. Some cried. Others dropped to the ground in awe, knowing they had just seen something only God could make possible. Slowly, the man stood. His body was weak, but his spirit was whole again. Jesus wrapped his arms around the man, not like he was a stranger, but like a son returning home. But the battle wasn't quite finished. In the unseen realm, the demons cast out of the man howled as they drowned with the pigs. They cursed, they mocked, but heaven didn't respond with anger. It responded with justice, because judgment was already underway. When the village priest saw the man set free, he dropped to his knees. This was the man who was bound, and now he's free. Some people ran away in fear. Others knelt in awe. Many wept, not knowing why. The man began to speak clearly, his voice steady. "I remember when it began, the whispers, the hate with no cause, the day I stopped praying. I remember my parents raised me with the word. But I drifted. I visited places I should have avoided. I opened doors I didn't understand. But today I'm free, finally free." And it was true. The story of the once tormented man from Gadara would go on to change entire cities. Where there had been silence and death, now there was testimony. Where there were howls of torment, now songs of worship rose. Where an army of demons once lived, now God's Spirit made its home. All of this happened because Jesus faced the depths of hell and overcame, without force, without shouting, just through truth. The true battle was inside, but the victory would last forever. The next morning felt different. The sunlight was warmer, the air was fresh. The trees seemed to sway with life again. The man, who had once slept in tombs, now walked through the village fully dressed, clear-eyed and calm. Some stared with fear, others with amazement, but he simply smiled. He didn't say much. He just repeated the same few words. "Jesus rescued me from the darkness." The mothers watched silently. Children who once avoided him now came close, curious and unafraid. The priest wiped away tears as the man walked by. Everyone knew they were witnessing a miracle in the flesh. The town came back to life. People returned to the roads. Stalls reopened. Laughter echoed again. The evil presence had vanished. And while not everyone could explain what had happened, they all sensed something divine had touched their land. That region would never be what it was. As for the man, he wasn't just free. He became a voice, a messenger, a living sign that declared, "If he set me free, he can do the same for you." When he shared his story, hearts stirred. The elders grew quiet. Children listened closely. What he shared didn't just teach, it changed lives. But hidden in the crowd, something began to stir. A man sat quietly among them. No one knew his name. He looked like anyone else, calm, focused, He reacted like the rest. But deep within him, something dark was waiting, an impure spirit. And when the truth of God's word filled the room, that spirit could no longer stay hidden. Suddenly, a scream ripped through the silence of the teaching. "What do you want with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, God's Holy One." Everyone froze in place. Who would shout like that? And how could he know who Jesus truly was? But it wasn't the man speaking. It was the dark power inside him. The kingdom of evil shook because the light had entered the scene. Jesus didn't flinch. He didn't raise his voice to compete. He just looked at the man and spoke with calm authority. "Be silent. Come out of him." This wasn't a discussion. It was a divine order. Just like in the beginning when God said, "Let there be light." Now that same eternal voice spoke again, and the spirit had no power to resist. The man dropped to the ground, convulsing. He let out a cry, his body shaking as if something invisible fought to stay. Then silence. He opened his eyes, and he breathed like it was the first time in a long time. Everyone stared, unable to speak. Jesus had just demonstrated something unexpected: control over demons, even inside a sacred place. It broke their old ways of thinking. Until then, most believed such battles only happened in graveyards or remote places. But Mark's Gospel records the crowd's reaction. They were amazed and asked each other, "What is this?" A new teaching, with authority. Even unclean spirits obey him. This wasn't just a supernatural moment. It revealed something deeper. Jesus hadn't come only to cure physical illness. He had come to break chains and release the soul. News of what happened spread fast through Galilee, but even more than news, what spread was a holy sense of awe. People realized that someone greater than Moses, greater than Elijah, greater than all the prophets and leaders had arrived. Jesus had just come down from the mountain, where moments earlier he was transfigured before Peter, James, and John. He had descended from glory into chaos. At the bottom of the mountain, confusion ruled. Disciples surrounded by a crowd, teachers of the law arguing, onlookers shouting, and at the center, a father, eyes full of pain. Beside him, a boy thrown to the ground, his body twisting uncontrollably. The boy shook violently, his mouth foaming. His body slammed against the ground. "Teacher, please help me," cried a desperate father. "I brought my son to you." He has a spirit that takes away his voice. It throws him into fire and water. I asked your followers to cast it out, but they failed. Jesus paused. He looked at his disciples, then at the people, and finally lifted his eyes toward heaven. "You people without faith, how long must I stay with you? How long must I put up with this?" He walked toward the child. The evil spirit recognized him instantly. The boy began to convulse violently. He dropped to the dirt, rolling, white foam spilling from his lips. "How long has this been happening?" Jesus asked. "Since he was little," the father replied. "The spirit tries to destroy him, throws him into fire or water. But if there's anything you can do, have mercy. Please help us." Jesus looked straight at the man. "If I can," he said, "all things are possible for the one who believes." The man fell to his knees, tears in his voice. "I do believe, but help me where I don't." His prayer wasn't flawless, but it was real. It wasn't full of confidence, but it was full of need. And sometimes that's all it takes to touch heaven. Jesus turned toward the boy. The spirit inside screamed. The crowd stepped back, but Jesus stood firm. "You mute and deaf spirit," he commanded, "I order you, come out and never return." The boy's body jerked one last time. Then silence. "He's dead," someone shouted. But Jesus reached out, took his hand and helped him up. The boy opened his eyes. He breathed in deeply, turned his head, and looked into his father's eyes. Then he spoke, words clear and strong for the first time. The father fell into his son's arms, overwhelmed. The crowd stood still, awestruck. Once again, Jesus had done what no one thought was possible. Later, when they were alone, the disciples asked him quietly, "Why couldn't we cast it out?" And Jesus gave them a reply that still speaks to every believer today. This kind doesn't come out except through prayer and fasting. It wasn't about a missing method. It was about missing depth. Some battles can't be won with noise or borrowed authority. These dark forces only leave when faced with a life deeply rooted in God. Prayer connects us to the divine. Fasting weakens the grip of the flesh. Faith that speaks with confidence, because some battles aren't won through effort or strength, but through full surrender to the Father. And that day, a broken father, a suffering son, and confused disciples all learned that when human solutions fail, God's power remains. Time passed. The setting changed. This time, it wasn't a man possessed in a graveyard or a child shaking on the ground. It was a mother, desperate, determined. Jesus had left Galilee and traveled to the region of Tyre and Sidon, places outside of Israel, Gentile territory. He sought quiet, hoping not to draw attention, but a light cannot stay hidden. A Syrophoenician woman, a Canaanite, foreign in every way, heard he was nearby. She had heard whispers of healings. She had heard that just one word from him sent demons running. She didn't know Israel's customs or laws, but she knew the ache of having a daughter in pain. So she ran. She reached Jesus and fell at his feet. She sobbed, she begged, she called out for mercy. But Jesus said nothing at first. The disciples exchanged glances, unsure. Some even looked uncomfortable. Still, she refused to walk away. She didn't follow the right religion. She held no status. She wasn't part of the chosen people. But she had something powerful, faith that doesn't give up. Then Jesus finally spoke, not with cruelty, but with a test. "It's not right to give the children's bread to the little dogs." A challenging statement. A parable meant to reveal what was in her heart. Most would have left, feeling insulted or rejected. But not her. She didn't argue. She didn't take offense. She answered with grace and confidence. "Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the table." In that moment, her reply held more faith than many sermons ever preached. And Jesus smiled. "Your faith is great," he said. "Because of what you've spoken, your daughter is healed." She stood. Nothing dramatic had happened. There was no physical touch, no display of power, no loud cries, just a promise. And she believed. When she returned home, there was her daughter, sitting quietly, peaceful, free. All without Jesus ever stepping into the house, because one mother's faith crossed cultural walls, broke through religious boundaries, and touched the heart of heaven. This battle needed no shouting. A war ended by just a few words, a triumph without drama, yet full of eternal power, and a lesson for all of us. Jesus' authority has no boundaries. It doesn't depend on where you're from, what language you speak, your background, or your beliefs. Wherever there is faith, there is freedom. What that mother did for her child that day still echoes louder than any sermon. Because when someone truly believes, darkness has no place left to hide. In Mark 1:32-34, we read that by evening, people brought Jesus all who were sick or tormented, and the entire town gathered at the door. Jesus didn't turn anyone away. He didn't ignore a single cry. One after another, he freed them. With a single command, the spirits left, sometimes with a scream, other times with violent trembling, but none could stand against him. Matthew 8:16 is clear. He cast out demons with just a word. Luke 4:40-41 says that spirits came out of many people yelling, "You are the Son of God." They knew exactly who he was, even before he spoke. They screamed, they obeyed, they bowed in fear, and Jesus silenced them. No need for rituals or long speeches. Mark 3:11 tells us that whenever unclean spirits saw him, they fell to the ground and shouted, "You are the Son of God." Nowhere in Scripture does it say even one demon could resist him. Though only a handful of specific stories are named, the message is repeated over and over. Crowds were set free. It wasn't rare. It was part of his daily mission. Mark 6:13 confirms that even the disciples sent out in his name drove out many demons. This wasn't an unusual moment. It was a constant clash between light and darkness. Jesus never hesitated. He didn't ask permission. He never lost a battle. He cast out evil with a single phrase. He brought healing with one touch. He restored lives simply by being present. The Bible doesn't detail every encounter, but the pattern is unmistakable. Wherever he went, the possessed found freedom. That power was part of who he was, the very proof of the Messiah. Luke 7:21 says he did this in great number, in public places, time and again, in cities and villages, homes and synagogues, on hillsides and in busy streets. The power of the Son of God had no limits, no breaks. His mission to bring freedom never stopped, not for a moment. And now, even after centuries have passed, those same stories still declare something timeless. Jesus holds power. His name still causes darkness to tremble. His presence still shatters chains. His words still bring freedom. If he did it back then, he can do it right now. If you or someone close to you is facing fear, spiritual oppression, torment or confusion, know this: there is hope. His name is Jesus. Call on him, trust in him, and watch as darkness is pushed back again. Thank you for walking with us through this journey into the freeing power of the Son of God. If this message moved your heart, please share this video with someone who needs encouragement. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and leave a comment below. Every story we tell here is for one reason, so the world may know that Jesus is still on the throne. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay strong, stay free, and may God bless you richly. Amen.